Welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast, the show by fans for fans of your Milwaukee Brewers. Okay, Brewer fans, welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast number 21. Coming at you tonight with Scott Bartell.
Hey, everybody.
Vince Travato.
Hey, guys. How are you?
And Chad Collins was not able to join us.
I got an update from his Facebook page. Actually, he didn't reply to any of our texts or calls. He actually was at the Prince Experience in Chicago. So that's what he's doing instead of being on our show.
That would be awesome, damn it.
Chad told me he went to church and was hungover on communion wine. I guess he went through the line several times.
Maybe
right.
Prince is Lutheran. Yeah, maybe Prince is Lutheran. He's from Minnesota, so maybe Chad and Prince Experience all kind of went together at church today.
Yeah, I had an anonymous source that told me that
was it Tom
Chad might
Carter?
have lost our phone number. What?
Was it Tom Carter or a different anonymous source?
Scott, you can't say Tom Carter's name on the air.
He said just go to
you can
TC.
You can say
TC.
TC. Well, you can say T Carter or Tom C, but you can't say Tom Carter's name on the air. That's the deal.
Oh, well, I guess, as long as I don't say that he works for the Brewers, that, yeah. Okay. No, I get it.
So
that's my fault.
We can edit this, but you can't say Tom Carter works with the Brewers anymore on the air. He's our anonymous source. So.
All right. Shaquifa, can you edit that?
Yeah. No, I
she just
don't have
nods.
time for any of that.
Say anything. She just nods a lot.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right, we're coming at you. The Milwaukee Brewers are still in first place. Yahoo!
Barely.
And they're Scott. As of this taping, they're in first place, and they're about to expand on that lead. I'm sure of it. Anyway,
we still have the best record in the NL. What do you people want? Is that what you expected from this team? Oh, sorry.
Exactly. Best record in the NL.
A little too fired up, clinging to a half-game lead.
Rather than stay complacent as the best team in the NL, General Manager David Stearns starting to make some pretty bold moves to improve the ball club, and it's not even close to July 31st yet, so we're going to be going all in and going for it this year. The first strike here by Mr. Stearns, we traded He-Man Choi for Brad Miller, second base, shortstop / first baseman, left-handed hitting, who was cut by the Rays less than a week ago. So what are your guys' thoughts? This is breaking news. It literally just came down the wire as of this taping. Who wants to chime in first with their thoughts on this deal?
Well, I think that it's a good move. G-Man Choi had a couple really big moments with the Brewers, which was exciting. I think we all remember opening day against the Padres when he had a game-winning hit, and I was fortunate enough to be part of our Brew Crew Review press team at the Brewers Phillies series this weekend, and he had a huge grand slam on Saturday, which turns out was his last game as a Brewer. But we've got some depth, obviously, at first base with Eric Thames coming off the disabled list probably this week, and with Jesus Aguilar playing very well at first. So I think that Stearns is dealing from a position of strength and seeing that, we've got a number of guys who can kind of fill the same role that Choi was doing. And Choi had spent the majority of the year at AAA in Colorado Springs. So, this is an opportunity to kind of pick up, I think we talked about it on our show, but kind of pick up a need for somebody that could, spell Orlando Arcia when he's in one of his hitting funks, or, we've had some injuries. Tyler Saladino is hurt. Nick Franklin is hurt. So he can play at second base as well. So I think it's good. You get another guy who's versatile, in your organization.
Yeah, I mean, Brad Miller is he's basically a poor man's Jed Lowry or somebody like that Stearns loves because you can play all these different positions for all the reasons that Vince said, which are all great. And I guess I'm going to focus a little bit more on maybe the G-Man Choi aspect of this in that there were obviously rumors going around a couple of weeks ago that he was really unhappy with his role in the minors. And with Thames coming back, there's just not going to be enough at-bats for him, barring yet another injury. And so, like Vince said, dealing from a position of strength, I think I'm starting to wonder now, to G-Man's defense, he did say that those rumors about him being really unhappy with his role with the team were completely unfounded, and he's super happy and go Brewers and all that. So class act for him to step up like that and make a public announcement like that. But it makes you wonder now that he was traded, maybe that was something that was going on after all. Maybe there was some truth to that. So ultimately, it gives us the infield depth that we want. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to miss G-Man that much. He's great. I mean, I like him. But with Thames coming back and Aguirre, there's just no room.
One thing too, Miller hit 30 bombs just 2 years ago, which is, a far cry from where he was offensively last season and most of this year as well. But he has dealt with some injuries, so perhaps he'll refine a bit of power playing in Miller Park instead of Tropicana Field. And one thing that stands out to me too, guys, is that we picked up G-Man Choi essentially as a minor league free agent. It was kind of a depth move, and we traded him for a guy who, again, had 30 home runs, just 2 years ago, who was a big leaguer, and the Rays actually also threw in some cash, it looks like, into the deal as well. So, kudos to Stearns for trading somebody who wasn't necessarily getting much on the open market this offseason and translating that into a guy who might prove valuable to us going forward this season.
Well, and even though he hit 30 homers last year, I mean, that's obviously, or 2 years ago, you said, that's definitely all well and good, but it could be an absolute fluke, Santana. So I don't know if that's really going to happen in the future or not.
Well, you guys made some great points.
That was my Kevin Nealon impression.
That was a great one, and that was a reference that not many people would get anymore either. Scott,
I knew he was one of your idols. That's awesome.
Most of our
Kevin Nealon. Kevin Nealon's the guy that does those commercials for some sort of enhancement product, correct?
Yeah, he does that. He's like golfing with three other has-beens saying like, I don't know, everything hurts. No, it doesn't because I have a prescription drug. I don't know.
Well, if the Brewers Twitter team can do a Jim Carrey reference, Scott can certainly do a Kevin Nealon reference, and expect any of our podcast listeners over 35 at least get it. So whatever.
Yeah, I wish you would stick to comedy and less painting. It's not very good at it, but yeah. I did really appreciate it. I listened to the whole skit, and I've actually been in that bullpen car, just so you know. I've been very proud to say that.
What?
Yeah, it was one of the few things I did as an intern.
Yeah, that was down. That was located down in the in Pat Rogo's warehouse of Ford's. It was one of a number of items that were down there. In fact, Scott, I believe that I went down there with you several times in the bowels of Miller Park.
Yep, absolutely. There's so many great people out, actually. When I was an intern there, like I was doing nothing. I was so bad at everything I did. But yeah, that was one of the few fond memories I had. That and holding the door for Jeff Jenkins while he went into the clubhouse. So yeah.
Nice. Oh, and another little known fact that I know our longtime Brew Review viewers would know, but I don't know if our podcast listeners are aware of. But back about, I don't know, at least 10 years ago, it seems, both Scott and Vince got to race in as racing sausages in the Miller Park sausage race during a game. Yep. In fact, the last game of the year. I know that you guys did not win because one of the other sausages cheated, but I don't even know this answer myself. I don't remember which of the two, between just you and, I don't know if I finished second, but who finished ahead, yourself or Scott of Vince? Or was it
I can answer that. I'll be happy.
I do not remember.
I can answer that. I finished dead last as the bratwurst. I was sprinting, full sprinter on the bases. The entire time I was actually just thinking, keep your head up because that's all they said. Because if you lower your head a little bit, you're going to face plant. So I did that. Unfortunately, I actually stepped on a batting donut that was laid just outside of the batting circle on the visitor's side. And, I almost rolled an ankle and almost fell, but I kept it together and then shook what I hoped was Mark Antonasio's hand. I still don't know that was actually him.
To wish him happy birthday.
Wow,
but I do also remember vividly, even though I don't remember what order we all placed in outside of the one who cheated. I do remember very viscerally seeing Adam Dunn in that on deck circle with that boat. That's who left that batting donut, and he was huge. And even though I was wearing a huge sausage costume, I still felt like me running into Adam Dunn would really be painful, and it would really deprive the great people of West Dallas with our services for a bit. So I was trying to avoid Adam Dunn, in addition to wishing owner Mark Antonasio a happy birthday.
You guys should purposely try to like trip inside the visitor dugout or something.
we went over to shake Mark Antonasio's hand and wish him happy birthday, which there was only 4 racing sausages at that time, folks. Before chorizo was a sausage, but 3 of the 4 sausages followed through on our original plan, and 1 kept running. And that's the event.
Yeah, and that sausage's manhood is definitely in question from that point forward, possibly even before that time. But anyway.
Thankfully, Adam Dunn didn't pull a Randall Simon because I probably would have died.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the guy is huge. I mean, I think he played college football or football for a long time. Is a big guy from Texas, and I think he was bigger than all the sausages for what it's worth. So it'd be like picking a fight with Russell. Be like picking a fight with Russell Martin and Brad Penny. I mean, at a random bar in Chicago. That's kind of what it would be akin to.
I'm sure he would have my back. But a little known fact that no one cares about is that I was actually at the Randall Simon sausage gate game sitting on that side, on the Lowe's level on that side of the field with my cousin, and we laughed when it happened. And inside the stadium, no one cared. The game went on, and no one cared. No one made a big deal about it. It wasn't until I got home, it was all over Sports Center and all this stuff, and I was like, what? I was there, and it wasn't even a big deal.
If you guys remember, Randall Simon was actually arrested after the game by the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department and booked for that as an assault because they felt like it was an intentional act of violence. And I don't actually know. I'm guessing he just had to pay some sort of token fine of a few $100, but we'd have to have our intern look that up. I can't remember exactly how that turned out. It obviously didn't result in any jail time or anything like that, but I do know that he was booked by the Washington County Sheriff's Department for assault, a misdemeanor assault.
I think that's like a version of he does that just to screw around or whatever, and we then trumpet and get him arrested by having it's sort of like when you paint the visiting team's locker room in pink, you're just kind of trying to get in their head a little bit. We're like, that doesn't happen to us. And,
well, anyways, it was pretty funny. Craig, I never knew that you went to that game, but did the fans in the stadium actually know that Simon hit the sausage, or did most people think that the sausage just kind of fell due to gravity or some other factor?
Well, we were watching the race, so and it was on our side of the field. So I don't know if everyone else would have been paying attention because I'm sure it was one of the trailing sausages. I would say.
You're right.
It didn't win the race, and so I think the rest of the people betting on the sausages would have been looking at the other sausages. We happened to be staying on that side of the field, so we saw Simon hit the sausage and went down, but we literally laughed and thought it was funny and that it was clever for him to do that, and we didn't think anything. We didn't realize it was sexual assault or whatever they call it these days.
There's nothing. The Me Too movement. I believe he hit a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman, so I think that the Me Too movement. What have to say about that?
Well, back in those days, and I don't know. back in the heydays of the Brewers and the Brew Review, there was no such thing as assault, or sexual assault or any of that stuff.
Thank God for that, because the Me Too movement in the Brewers ticket office would have been pretty active against one of our hosts, the great Scott Martell, who I think dated at least 3 or 4 women in the Brewers ticket office.
Those were all consensual, but I will say that that I had a better case than Liz. So we'll see.
Oh boy,
about that.
I hope that
probably got more than
reviews. Hey Craig, we may have to get Brooker Review lawyered up for that comment. So she may sue us here. So yeah.
Yeah, she may be part of like a
class action. Yeah.
No comment disclosure agreement or something. I assume. It was either like $3,000 or 30 pieces of silver.
Well, somehow my trade commentary got hijacked about one sentence in. So now that we digress back to, I don't even know how
Actually, Craig, we haven't heard your thoughts on the trade. Maybe that would be a good place to pick it back up.
Okay, yeah. So He-Man Choi had a great spring. Was worthy of making the team, and he did make the team to the surprise of many because of the Brewers' depth of first baseman at the time. And going into the season, as we all know, Braun and James are supposed to share the first base duties somehow, with Jesus Aguilar even as a possible cut candidate, not let alone He-Man Choi. They both made the team as what's turned out to be, in hindsight, a wonderfully great move by Stearns, because both those guys have been good contributors, especially Aguilar. But Choi seemed like a good guy. I could tell his teammates really liked him. At least that's the impression I got. But if you now look at it, and he had a huge grand slam this weekend, his last as a Brewer, as Vince pointed out. And I really liked the left-handed bat off the bench. But so it is a loss to the organization, in my opinion. But if you got two teams that matched up pretty well on a trade at this point of the season, it was definitely the Rays and the Brewers with these particular players, because, I mean, Brad Miller is not going to – I would say his bat isn't quite as good as Troy's at this point, and they're both, in their late 20s. So Brad Miller can play short and second and has at the major league level at length. And so he's got a lot of experience there.
I don't know that he's going to play a great short. I really don't want to see him at short. As soon as Saladino gets back, I think he's the next man on the depth chart there. I don't know. I don't think he can do short.
Well, it looks like the Brewers today have actually sent Miller to AAA for right now, and he's not going to necessarily be in the big leagues for a little bit. So I don't know how long Saladino is going to be on the DL, or if we've got any updates. But I think originally he was just placed on the 10-day DL. I don't know if Scott, during your research and pre-production meetings, that you came up with a better timetable on that. But it'd be interesting to see when Saladino gets activated, what happens, or if Miller just stays in the minors for a bit, or what the plan is.
What the hell's a pre-production meeting? I've never been invited to one in my life.
So we've had video of you in pre-production meetings in the past.
Well,
yes, Scott.
That was just being drunk with the interns.
Well, yeah, but that's what the pre-production meetings usually are.
I get it. When you guys are talking while I'm pre-gaming, that's what you call pre-production. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, not super excited about Miller, but at the fact that he is versatile, I think that pushes someone out. Possibly Silgar. I think that, like you guys said, Stearns really likes that versatility. He's left-handed, which is big for a bench bat, and not only that, but he can play those three positions in particular, and it really, I think, matches up well with kind of our needs, so to speak, when it comes to depth at those positions. And working him into the lineup, even he might even get some play at first base. You never know. I mean, like because Troy did, and because of Braun basically not being able to stay on the field at all, hardly. I know he had a big series finally in Philadelphia here, but I mean, literally, I think on a previous Seven on the Plate, I predicted he'd have over 140 games played or something. That's just not going to happen. I mean, he plays literally almost every other day. It's ridiculous. So anyway, so obviously we're going to be meeting, and Clint Thames obviously has had some health issues as well, and possibly get some time in the outfield. So anyway, I think Miller will get some at bats, and he will. I mean, if nothing else, on a team that's in first place, the best record in the NL, as we pointed out, to have someone that could fill in if Arcia continues to struggle at short. Granted, I agree with Scott. He's not probably the best guy. I think he plays fine, passable short though. Second base, again, we already talked about trading for guys like Jed Lowry. Well, here's a guy we get for basically very little, who, in my opinion, is almost as good and more versatile, or just as versatile as Jed Lowry, who doesn't play that much short himself. So, and not only that, but Lowry's a right-handed batter, and Miller is a left-handed batter, and he's got more power, which is nice bat bench to begin with. So I think overall, hopefully it'll be a good fit for us. And we've already got a park named after him. So I'm sure he's going to be able to hit well at Miller Park, but we shall see. So I'm gaining some excitement for Brad Miller. I think he's had a down year and a half here, but I do believe that he's got some power in his bat and can, he's a major league quality player in my opinion, and I think that the trade was one that made sense for both teams, and it's just a numbers crunch, like Scott mentioned. Like with James coming back, Choi was kind of just, there was no playing time for him, even as a bench bat, and no room for him on a 25-man, and it's almost as a courtesy to Choi to get him moved to another organization for some playing time as well. So I think just kudos all the way around for this trade. It just made a lot of sense.
And one other thing, too, just, really quick about Miller himself, is that when you're comparing Miller, it's not necessarily to, just looking at Miller. It's looking at Miller versus Eric Sogard, and it seems to me like Miller is going to be able to spell and maybe, take the place of Eric Sogard. And we know that Sogard was sent down to the minor leagues a couple of weeks ago. He got recalled, within, I think, 3 days or 4 days after Saladino's injury, but I think that Miller is definitely an upgrade over Sogard. We're not seeing the same Eric Sogard as we saw last year, who was pretty great addition for us for at least a couple of months of last season. And I think that maybe Miller can provide a bit more both versatility and pop certainly than Eric Sogard can.
Absolutely. I did actually want to touch on one thing. I know we only have like 3 minutes left in this podcast, but I wanted to do just a quick wrap on the MLB and just on overall standings and get your guys' quick thoughts. But I'm just going to do like a very, very fast recap.
We need to talk. If you're serious about only having 3 minutes left, we need to talk about the Cubs series and this next week.
We only have 3 minutes left, so all right, go for it.
We can edit this out, but yeah.
Fine. I'll say this. If you're a Mets fan, your season ended last week. I don't know what happened, but you lost 8 in a row. It was absolutely terrible. The Diamondbacks are figuring it out again, and the Dodgers are coming back out of nowhere. And the Brewers went 4-6, just 4-6, but unfortunately gave up 4 games in the last 10 to the Cubs. So that was kind of ridiculous. I guess we can't lose anymore.
Cubs are on a hot streak. The Nationals are playing a bit better as well. I was out at the game today. They lost 2-0 to the Giants, but they've been playing a little bit better. So I believe that right now, if the season ended today, the Brewers and the Nationals would meet in the playoffs, which would be pretty exciting.
Well, Nationals just sneak in the first.
The Mariners are coming out of nowhere in that division. I'm very excited with what they've done. I don't think it's going to hold up, but I'm impressed with them. That's all I got, though. That was your quick recap. You want to talk about Cubs?
Well, I think it's a huge series. The Brewers have been 1-7 against the Cubs so far this year. I think they scored like a grand total of 5 runs or something in the 8 games they played against the Cubs. So I know this weekend we scored 2 games of 12 runs or more against the Phillies, or 2, I should say, of two 12-run games against the Phillies. So we need to keep those bats hot going in this Cubs series. And it's like a must-win 2 of 3 games, if not a sweep here. If we don't win this series, we're not going to be in first place as of the middle of this week, and we've been leading for a while now. So I think it's a huge series, and then we got 3 games at Philadelphia later in the week, so that's 6 games here at home, big home stand start. What are your guys' predictions for the week? Cubs and Phillies, 6 games.
I'll say 3-3. Unfortunately, I think we lose 2 out of 3 of the Cubs, but I really hope I'm wrong.
Scott?
I'm going to say 4-2. We're going to take 2 out of 3 from both, and it's about time that we started taking it to the Cubs because I'm sick of them.
Nice job,
Yeah,
Scotty.
I'm gonna say we're gonna sweep the Cubs, but then unfortunately get swept by the Phillies. So I'll just go with 3-3. But I really want to beat the Cubs. I've been looking forward to this series for quite a while. Our bats have got to be there, and pitching and bullpen have got to hold up. It's a huge series, and I think it's going to set the tone for the rest of the season. And I'm pretty jacked up. I really want the Brewers to win this series.
No, the Phillies are reeling for like the last couple weeks. They're trying to figure it out now. I don't know. They thought they were cool for a while, and I don't know. Like, things are not good in that clubhouse right now. That's just an inside source from Tom Carter. Sorry, not Tom Carter. Tom C.
Yeah, well, their fans are not turning out. It was kind of funny being out there this weekend. Like, tickets are cheap, and seems like a lot of empty seats out there for a team that's been playing pretty well overall in 2018. So
it might not always be sunny.
Great food though, Scotty. Great food in Philly. You'd love it. They've got all sorts of food options. You would spend a lot of money up there at the stadium.
I still gotta get out there. All right, yeah, we should wrap this.
All right, guys.
Stay classy, Philadelphia and North Side Chicago.
Stay classy. Go Brewers.
Go Brewers.
Go Brewers.